spending bill. Joining me right now is the Coalition to Protect American Workers Executive Director. He's the former Chief of Staff to Vice President Marc Short. Vice President Pence, he is Marc Short. Marc, it's great to see you. Thanks very much for being here. We appreciate you joining us. What's your take? Obviously, there was a leaked document over the weekend which indicates all of the tax increases that the House Democrats are working on. Some of them are actually below Biden's plans. They want to take the corporate tax rate to 26.5%. That's up from where we are now, but it's down from Biden's plan to take it to 28%.
Well, Maria, I think that the size and scope of this is truly mind-boggling. I think if you look at the amount of spending over the last year between the COVID tax relief, the infrastructure package, and now this, you'll be talking about $12 trillion, which in essence would be $100,000 given to every family in America if you were to send direct payments. The scope of this is mind-boggling, and I think that it's in more or less what Joe Biden and the Democrats are looking to do is to create a welfare state in which you have dependency from cradle to grave. The tax increases are covering every aspect of your life, from your income to your investments, again, increasing taxes upon death, and it increases taxes on consumption of tobacco and other products, as well as increasing health care costs and drug pricing. So this is massive in its scope. And I think that the reason Nancy Pelosi is trying to push this as rapidly as she is we have a poll that we'll be releasing this week, which we did, polling in a dozen moderate Democrat districts in which the numbers were 58 to 35 opposed to this tax plan. And that's not just the general American public. Think about it. Those are Democrat represented districts. And so the American people do not want this amount of spending when you see inflation ticking up, and they don't want this amount of taxing. But it's truly mind-boggling the size of this from cradle to grave, the dependency they're trying to create upon the United States government.
Yeah, it's pretty extraordinary. Already we've heard from Senator Joe Manchin. He's facing some heat from his fellow Democrats after he said he's a no on the $3.5 trillion in spending. But, you know, some people say, well, he is going to agree to some of it. Maybe it'll be $1.5 trillion. New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, meanwhile, recently went after him. She tweeted this: Manchin has weekly huddles with Exxon and is one of the many senators who gives lobbyists their pen to write so-called bipartisan fossil fuel bills. It's killing people. Manchin said this kind of rhetoric does nothing but divide. He said more from AOC, divide, divide, divide. So, Marc, look, you've got Manchin pushing back, but it's anybody's guess on whether or not he'll stay firm and not go along with this. The Democrats are trying to jam in everything they can in this bill, including their voting legislation, which says no ID to vote. Let mail-in ballots be the standard.
Well, Maria, I think that naturally when you're trying to do something this divisive, you're going to have tension within the Democrat Party. But I don't think we should really be celebrating Manchin's position. The reality is he's saying he's for an additional $1.5 or $2 trillion, just not the $3.5 trillion. The reality is that the tax and spend part of this bill is it's going to fund green energy programs that are going to continue to kill jobs in West Virginia. If he was truly worried about his constituents in West Virginia, he'd be an absolute no, because part of this bill is taking your taxpayer dollars and requiring the purchase of electric vehicle batteries, which are made in China. So you're going to kill jobs in West Virginia to create jobs in China. There shouldn't be celebration of him having reservations about the size of it. We aren't really arguing about principle anymore. We're just arguing about the price tag to get Manchin's vote.
Well, meanwhile, has Joe Biden lost any political capital from all of these crises that he has started? I mean, the wide open border has fentanyl and illicit drugs coming in, killing Americans, 93,000 overdoses over the last year. The Afghanistan withdrawal has people's mouths open about the horror that comes with giving up Bagram Air Base now that China wants to acquire it. Is there going to be any accountability, you think, for these decisions that were obviously the wrong decisions in terms of the cut and run out of Afghanistan?
I think that the debacle in Afghanistan created a big dearth in the president's polling numbers. What we found in these same 12 Democrat districts was the president's fave-unfave at 42-54. So I think he's taken a significant hit on this. But as it relates to the legislation, let's keep in mind what Nancy Pelosi did when she had control in 2009 and 2010 with Democrat House, Democrat Senate, and Democrat White House. She pushed Obama's stimulus plan, then pushed through the massive Obamacare government takeover of health care. But then she pushed forward a cap and trade bill, even though she couldn't get it passed in the Senate. And she had her members march off a cliff that led to 63 Republicans winning seats in 2010. She's following the same play this time, in which the president's numbers are cratering, but she's trying to rush through this massive tax and spend bill. And if her members follow her, they're going to go off the cliff, and they're not going to have safe seats like she does in San Francisco. And you're going to see a massive Republican victory in 2022 in the House of Representatives.
Yeah, well, we'll see about that, because it doesn't appear that she or Bernie Sanders really cares very much. Bernie the other day said there will be no infrastructure if the $3.5 trillion doesn't go through. I mean, they are tying these plans together, Marc.
Yeah, Maria, I think you're right. For Pelosi, this is about her legacy, and so she is not as worried. But for those individual Democrat members, they have to consider, do they want to be kicked out of their seats? And I think the reality is that voters are sending them a signal that that's where they're headed if they follow her off this cliff.
All right, we will leave it there. We're taking a look at what's inside this infrastructure bill as well, because there's some tax increases hidden inside there as well. Marc, it's good to see you this morning. Thank you, sir. We will keep following all of this. What a moment.